All right, Common Sense Podcast back once again. Myself, Jimmy. We've got the usual suspects, Clint and Remy, and then we've got lovely Jane and Layke. I can't call you lovely, bro. I'm not that way inclined, I mean. But shut up. But anyway, we're going to be focusing on a completely different topic. We're going to bring the fire on this one, and it is white on white crime. Essentially, we're going to be speaking about a lot of aspects of it, but one of the main parts that we're going to be speaking on right now is why is it not really spoken about?
But there's nobody, well, half of me is white, but we're going to sit here and talk about white on white crime, like we can actually understand the impact of it. We're not involved.
A whole lot of white people talk about black on black crime. There's no reason why we can't speak on white on white crime.
But understanding the impact of it, they always get called out for appropriation and so on and so forth. And
Sure.
White people talk on everything, it's just their fucking job, right? But how can we sit here and speak objectively when we're not understanding the impact?
I feel like when you say white on white crime, black on black crime, you adhere a factor of race to the crime, which I'm completely against. I think it's proximity crime. If you have a bunch of Asian people that are living in poverty in London, they're gonna, because we have Asian gangs in like Bethel and that, East London, them man do crime as well. Do you get what I'm saying? It was all a proximity thing. So I feel like the phrase itself, even though I understand why people use the phrase, I'm against the phrase itself because it gives meaning to the race. The race ain't got nothing to do with the crime.
It should be meaning to the crime.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I disagree.
I'm listening.
Go ahead.
When you say proximity, just on a slight side note, what do you mean when you say proximity? Close proximity?
Yeah, it's population
wide
and
proximity?
Like literally
country length
proximity.
proximity?
As in the area within the
boroughs, wards,
yeah, exactly. Because you're not going to commit. If you live in London, you're not going to go and be involved in crime. So let's say robbery or assault or drugs or fraud with someone that lives in Manchester. You're going to probably do it with someone that's in your area, and that might then lead to a situation where
That's going out to do a crime.
and how a lot of
I think we're talking about, first and foremost, sorry to interject here.
Cool.
First and foremost, I think that I can't talk for everyone, I talk for myself. So for those of you viewers who are watching that haven't grown up in a mixed society, had a mixed childhood like I have, I've grown up with, and I say it to my friends and we have our discussions on it, I've grown up with not all the blacks, but a lot of blacks. So when I say that, I've grown up with the blacks from the Caribbean, Bajans, Jamaicans, St. Lucians. I've grown up with the Africans, I've grown up with Somalians, Nigerians, Ghanaians, people from Yemen,
There's
Eritrea,
a lot of good food there,
like this. So there's a lot of different types. And the whites I've grown up with, English white, Scottish white, Welsh white, Irish white. So me personally, I've grown up with I've had a very
mixed,
very
diverse.
Social group as I've grown up. So, and I feel like it's okay for someone like me that's seen all different types of people growing up with them. For me to speak on it, I think that's fine. Because I got up with them. What I don't like is for people to speak on my community that haven't grown up with people like me.
I don't
think so.
I'm just seeing it more as a thing where the crime is happening because there's deprivation in the communities.
Yes.
So it depends on the population of the community. It hasn't got anything to do with the skin color is obviously a factor of it, but that's only when you want to observe it, not as if that's part of the crime or something that makes the criminals do crime itself.
So if that's the case, why is black on black crime a thing?
Because it's disproportionate. It's proportion in terms of population. So 13% of London are black.
13.
So 1.13%.
What I believe.
No, it's genuinely that.
No, I'm not saying you're
Knife crime has risen 54% over 3 years, right? And for every 1,000 people arrested, every 1,000 black people, for every 1,000 black people, there are 35 people arrested. And 54% of the black population so 13% across UK, 54% of that 13% live in London. See what I'm saying to you? So there's a disproportionately high amount of people, that race of people in one city. So looking at it in terms of borough, Islington is technically the most violent borough in London.
No. Stats like that are a misrepresentation. I'll tell you why. The misrepresentation.
This comes from Met Police. This comes from the Office of National Statistics.
I'm not saying the stats are wrong. I'm saying they're misleading, and I'll try to explain why. Look, if I tell you what we all know is facts. Football hooliganism has been going on for how long? 100 years?
No idea.
Well,
50 years?
If we're talking about the popularity of football right now, we can easily say we've been talking about it since
50 years.
Yeah, 50s, 60s, easily.
Okay.
Yeah?
Made popular in the 70s.
So like the firms and all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So if we've got pockets of black people, youths, whoever they are, running around stabbing each other, killing each other, harming each other,
Yeah.
and we're labelling that black on black crime, and we're comfortable to say that, we've accepted that,
Yeah.
and that's recent, right? Because we've only been here for X amount of time, and I'm sure there's a stat that says from this amount of time to that amount of time. We know within our generation it's slowly going up and up and up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
To call hooliganism white on white crime is factual.
Absolutely, and this is what I want to say
Similarly-
also.
But actually
Similarly,
also, but there's
hang on.
people that are black that have been involved in Millwall versus.
And there's people
alright.
that are white that have been involved in
That's
killing.
what-
So we
that's-
know that.
that's why I don't mess with the-
with the black
and black thing,
So
You
for
say
the
it,
football
I'm saying
hooliganism,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
disproportionately whites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're if factually we can say for the black on black, for the violence like you said, in that proximity violence is disproportionately black.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when it comes to football hooliganism, it's disproportionately white.
Yeah.
And there's no problem with me speaking on it, and there's not a problem with them speaking on what what goes on in the black community. The reason why I say that is not viewed as a problem. And the question is, why is that not viewed as a problem? It's been going on for years. These guys, hang on a minute, I'm going to close here. Give me a chance to talk as well. This has been going on for years. These people have each other's phone numbers. They ring up, they arrange to meet somewhere, and they fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what happens.
Yeah, it is.
Fact, it's a gang, is it not?
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
people are
100%.
part of gangs, yeah. So these gangs that have been going on for 50 odd years, how is it no one speaks on it, no one has a negative view on it, no one has an opinion on it, no one calls it white on white crime? A few youngsters have been running around for 10 years, killing each other within this proximity up and down the country. Oh my God, these people. Oh my God, these people. Hang on a minute, Saturday, your dad's going to be out doing it. Your uncle's going to be out doing it. And your brother and your cousin's going to be out doing that same kind of thing. So why is it?
It
Why is
feels
this?
the narrative.
Oh, you're
It's
bad,
easy.
but if it goes on in another part of our
Cliff,
community, it's a problem.
Easy. It's simple
It's
as
what I'm
that.
asking.
It's easy because we don't control the media, or at least then we did not control the media.
Yeah, it's
Our
media
narrative was
perceptions.
never or rarely spoken about. Like it. I mean, what we got things like BET and London Live.
We had
and
Channel
Africa
U
thing.
back in the day as well.
We didn't, and these are very recent. And yeah, you could say, oh yeah, but they're now owned, like BET's now owned by a white person. Yes, cool, but this is the thing. We didn't even have our own network until what, about 30 years ago. And
then you gotta look at
long-standing media's been going on for about 70
You
years.
got to look at the stories that the Daily Mail
televised media,
perpetuates and all of that. It's,
Right,
it's
so that's what I'm saying. It's
inflammatory.
easy. Like, and the thing is, the reason why white crime doesn't get that look in is because it's not profitable to the media.
And just to
They-
keep
they-
like, just to
profits.
keep
Do you know
your
how
Always
easy?
money
Sorry,
power.
really quickly. Do you know how easy it is for the Daily Mail to come up for a writer for the Daily Mail to go up to their head editor and say, "Listen, I've got this story about this black guy that stabbed this black kid. Yeah, cool. Page 3, page 4, whatever. Oh, by the way, I've got this this white guy that
Didn't they
was."
put a picture of Stormzy instead of Romelu Lukaku? Or was it the other way around?
That's the thing. It's
They made
easy.
another error recently with they tried saying
Kobe
that
Bryant
Kobe
and
Bryant,
LeBron James.
LeBron James was-
Oh,
Yeah,
that
and they
was
also
I
done it with
like-
Diane Abbott and Marsha D. Cordova, who are both Labour Party.
Thinking about it in a sense of I think it's
MPs.
media driven because they pay attention to the BAMA community and
Yeah.
they're low working class, but actually the lowest education attainment level is working class white boys,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not often spoken about
Mm.
in terms of them being on the lowest social standing and ladder. So again, I think it's easier for the media to sell that
It's
narrative and sell
absolutely
that
easier.
story. And
Can I say something quickly?
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
it's more nuanced than just the media, isn't it? I feel like culture. White people have culture, innit?
Absolutely.
In all cultures, we all understand we're gonna have our dissidents, we're gonna have our criminals.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier for them to turn a blind side to a white person doing football hooliganism, because it's part. I don't want to say part of their culture, but you have people in your culture that do things that are dissident. When you have people from other cultures coming out and commit crime, that's where the problem is seen as. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you have, and we can't even just say in England. We've got people in South Africa killing Nigerians because they're doing crime, they're doing fraud there. But you have South Africans doing fraud, but you accept the ones of your own culture but you wouldn't want someone else to do it. But I wouldn't say it's
Acceptance of stretch.
I wouldn't say
I know what you mean.
It's hypocrisy.
It is, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's mainly that. I would say it's a culture clash. I would say they see people from other cultures committing crimes, and because they're more accepting to people of their own cultures committing crimes, because we're one, we're a tribe, we're one tribe. You're gonna have those people that
the
do
majority
that.
tribe.
So
as
then
well.
the media comes in, and the media, which is obviously more mainly white British people, they're gonna have that same view.
Yeah.
They don't see the hooligans as problems in society. They just see it as you're gonna have people that do those.
On the side, it's like,
Do you get what I'm saying? But it's easy because
When we look at hooliganism, we look at the Millwall Bushwhackers, we look at West Ham's ICF, we look at the Chelsea Headhunters, we look at Aston Villa. They had the hardcore, right, and that was up in Brum, of course. They were all about, and they all, like you said, they used to call each other up and say, right, cool, we're gonna link up at whatever part. We're close to Chelsea right now. All right, cool. We're gonna link up near Stamford Bridge, and we're gonna kick the cunt out of each other, and that's it. Cool. All right, later, and that's it. And then they'll link up again. Them man used to watch the FA Cup draw to hope that them two would link up. You know what I'm saying? These are things that happened, and you already know that the police would know about this. The police were forewarned. You know that if the police are forewarned, that means that they're gonna have moles in there that are going back to the media. But we don't see these things. There were papers back in the day that were saying, oh yeah, hooliganism, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely wasn't as big as, oh, today knife crime reached an all-time high and all this other stuff. Hooliganism and knife crime, the way how they're shown in the media, completely different.
And there's a bigger market for it as well in terms of the money.
Yeah, sorry, go on, finish.
In terms of the money that's available for organisations that perceive to be dealing with knife crime and working with children and young people, there's a bigger market. It's easier to sell. It's easier to create a narrative of it where you can make money and you can create yourself a notable company or organisation be seeming to do something to change the wave of it. I think I'm sorry to say it, but I think it's almost become fashionable for these organisations to say, oh yeah, well, our corporate social responsibility is to give money to anti-knife crime. For example, Eddie Hearn, when he was speaking about Stormzy and Wiley. Yeah, let's put on a clash. Let's give some money to a knife crime charity.
Do you know what pissed me off about that? Eddie Hearn said, right, Eddie Hearn's a promoter. He's all about the money. There's no problem like that. I've got no problem with that. I like Eddie Hearn. But he came out and he said all of that about, I want to get Wiley and Stormzy together. I want to do that. And then we'll give money to the knife crime. I'm like, big man, you have your own company, Matchroom, if I'm right.
Yeah.
You have Matchroom, right?
And they got PDC Dance.
Oh, PDC. Oh, didn't even know that.
Yeah, Barry Hearn.
Why don't you put that money into getting an apprenticeship sorted out for your company so you can do something like music and video production, and then that person can work for Matchroom? Why the fuck are you putting it into knife crime charities? What? Because you think that's all we do?
Businesses, marketing, and accounting. Right. And showing black people that there is another way other than being just an athlete or just a music star.
Exactly. And that's why it's a music video production, because we don't see that much directors or that much arrangers in music and stuff like that.
No, there's a few. There's what's his name? Hype Williams, Benny Boone. We've got the lady who's always on Made You Think as well.
directors in general.
But I just think that
Just
there's
general
more.
directors.
I feel like there's way more than just, because I feel like I wouldn't even say the whole media. Like we say, you can be a footballer, get into music, you can rap. Some man are supposed to be businessmen, some man are supposed to be accountants, some man are supposed to be, and not everyone is supposed to own something. Some people are just supposed to be workers. But we just sit down and say music or sport.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to
tap dance.
Some people actually want to do some background shit.
Well, let me try and take this in a slightly different direction. I thought it was slightly going off on a tangent.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know we've been talking about this domestically. Another thing I'd like to add, away from football hooliganism, is that there was the gangs here before. I can't think of what, I think maybe in the 50s, 40s and 50s, or 60s maybe as well. Okay. They used to have mods, teddy boys, and punk rockers. They'd fight each other as well.
Yeah.
And it was a music thing. It was like having maybe drill artists versus rap versus I don't know.
The skinheads as well.
Music versus skinheads, punks. Was it skinheads, punks, mods?
And Toby Boys, you said.
And Teddy Boys.
And it was and it was all.
And they would fight because they listened to a certain genre of music, and that would be their reason for fighting each other. But if we take this over to America and we start talking about things like the mass shootings that are going on over there, disproportionately again, we know it's going to be white guys. The problem, I feel like it's perpetuated. I think I've touched this before with you guys. I think it was a week you were away. is that it's perpetuated by Hollywood. Now, when you're constantly watching films consistently over the years where where gangsters are glamorized, where if you're part of the mafia, everyone wants to be that, everyone wants to be
Escobar.
everyone wants to be exactly.
Yeah.
I just think how would those films be perceived if the leading man was Idris Elba and all these gangsters were the top black
automatically
actors,
negative, isn't it?
black actors in.
Oh, American
It's all about
Gangster.
role models.
So this organised black crime unheard of in Hollywood. Organised black crime. Hang on a second.
Yeah, because they've never really accurately depicted Black Wall Street when they destroyed it in the 20s. So my voice is going.
Yeah.
So that, along with, and I know that's fictitious, but such these kind of films, web series, these kind of things, they do have an effect on your psyche.
Yeah.
That coupled with the mistreatment of black people, coupled with a kind of what's the phrase I'm looking for? The way whenever someone white does something bad to someone black, they're not brought to justice.
Yeah.
Even now, things are caught on camera. You see people get shot, killed. Eric Gardner choked, died.
Sergeant Black.
Another guy was selling CDs, got him in a headlock, he had his arms out like that, shot him and killed him. This is seen as reasonable force.
Yeah.
So even though you can physically see, there was another video. A white guy was chasing a black guy. He was running away. He got out his gun. He shot him, killed him.
You can even talk about Trayvon Martin.
And then you heard him saying that he was being attacked. Shots were fired towards him. Blah blah blah. But the guy in the distance had his camera out. He picked up what went on.
Yeah.
The last point I'm going to make, which is it's going to sound completely absurd. This lady, a white lady, she said she dreamt a guy raped her. They got the guy, he got 28 years. You can do your research, it's out there. He's just been released from prison recently.
Yeah. I don't know the name,
He said,
but I
I
saw
dreamt an individual raped me.
Yeah.
They put me in prison, 28 years of his life gone. This kind of consistent injustice over the years, that for me is one of the reasons why I think some white guys feel like life isn't valued. They go a bit skits, they feel like life isn't valued, they can kill who they want and maybe they're going to get away with it. Andreas guy, the guy in Europe who's done the shooting, Andreas Breivik.
That one.
Andreas
And that's the one
Breivik.
in Australia that went into the mosque and killed 50 odd people.
Andres Breivik one, that wasn't a race thing. That was more of a class thing because he just killed the rich people. He just killed rich people's kids.
If you read his manifesto, he was highly racist as well.
Yeah.
I
And
do
they always put it down as like
I do agree,
mental
but he was
illness
very, very
rather than
racist.
they being violent.
Anders Breivik was a very, very racist person. And still
I feel like that's ideology though. I feel like when you
his
just,
ideology
when
was
you
he
just,
wanted a heavily white
when you just
country.
Of course, 100%.
No way.
I'm agreeing with you, but I feel like when we just say things like racist or sexist, we take away from the point because these people are ideologists.
Yeah.
Is their ideologists
You're
that's
saying,
making
all
them
right,
kill.
cool, you're saying this, but it still does raise
yeah,
to
of
the
course.
point of it was white. He was white. He wanted his country to be white, and that's that. Like,
Yeah, I
yes,
agree with
cool. You can look at the ideology and everything else, but it doesn't matter. The fact is that he wrote out a whole fucking book,
Manifesto.
basically saying
So
this
can
is
I
how
question
it's
the leadership
question.
then? Question the leadership? That's what, because it's the role models in which how we direct as a moral compass, and we look to the West. And if you take a look at the government institutions and Trump allowing these things to happen, allowing these narratives to be painted, that's when things become okay, and it's so subliminal, systematically. What you guys talked
I wouldn't
about.
even say Trump though, because Obama and other presidents weren't the best of race relations. Not all the things you see on the Trump happen on Obama too, but we don't look at it because he was black, so we assume he can't be racist. I'm not saying he's racist, of course, but these things happened and they've been happening for
So
years.
do you think that this is a contributing factor to the way that terrorism is, I think, unequally portrayed between races? So for example, the shoe bomber, Richard, I can't remember his surname, never once was he labelled a terrorist. But anybody of an Arab descent or an Asian descent or a Muslim descent is automatically unfairly labelled. So do you think that systemically there's a reason for
the
that?
BBC started to actually clean it up and started calling them insurgents. That didn't work.
In that fucking film?
I feel like that
It's just the whole word terrorist.
it was used politically initially because Nelson
Right.
Mandela was called a terrorist.
There you go.
He was called a terrorist. Theresa May called him a terrorist on television.
Thank
She
you,
literally said
the Conservative
multiple
Party
times that he was a terrorist.
Yeah, the Conservative
No,
Party
he
had
wasn't a
stuff
terrorist.
about him
So-
saying that we need to stop this terrorist from doing what he was doing.
It's kind of like how I feel like the media. I feel like the media is our enemy. First of all, in general, I feel like just like the way the media has controlled. I feel like they've controlled black people to have an emotional reaction to racism, which has devalued the word in itself. Is the same thing with white people. They hear terrorist, oh, they go crazy. Black person has racist, they go crazy. But actually,
you got to think of, you got to look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
Look at everything. You got to have a 360 view with
yeah,
this.
but we hear the word terrorist, or they hear the word terrorist, and to black people the word terrorist, because we know how it's been used against us.
Yeah.
We are not as emotionally attached to it like a white person is, because you hear like the Shemima Begum thing, innit?
Yeah.
I think she's a British citizen. You've had, there was one white woman that was 34 that went, she left the country, same thing as her, they let her back in. Yeah, 100%.
I know there was the white widow, but they
Yeah.
were looking for her because they wanted to kill her.
No, I'm saying who, the government.
Yeah.
No, there was
No,
one.
not
there was
random
one-
dons on the road,
No,
like-
no, there was one. I even heard on LBC the other day
Yeah.
that over 400 men, white men, not just men in general, have been allowed into the country. When we have someone like her, she's a British citizen.
Yeah.
Why, apart from the fact that her race is not white, are you not allowing her back into the country?
It's obvious why.
What'd you say?
Skin color.
It's
Oh, yeah,
obvious
that's what I'm
why.
saying. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? So-
obviously, I know it's
yeah.
rhetorical.
Do you get what I'm
but
saying?
it's definite. I mean,
So I feel like it just
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, are you finished?
Yeah, go on.
Why do you think black people shouldn't be able to react emotionally to
Lovely.
racism?
I think, no, I don't, that's not what I'm saying. I think that the media
They've
has
inflamed it.
conflated that word with so many things that are not racist.
I don't know what conflated means. What's
Cool, like
conflated
they have attached things that are not really racist. You could just take it down to
you
ignorance.
could say it's racist,
Do
but
you
it's
get what I'm
not
saying?
actually that.
Yeah, you could like
You could say an
ignorance.
ignorant statement.
Yeah,
Because
and not
generationally, if you look
For
at
me,
it,
racism has intent. Although
Yeah.
some racism people
covert.
don't really know, but that's still intentional. But some people, I don't think, realise that. So, black people, and I know we're going a bit off topic. Some black people, I think, call racism for reasons that aren't really racist. But I know we're going
Yeah.
a bit sideways. I know we're going
Pulling the
sideways
race
now.
card just because you can.
And it's devalued the word, is the point I'm trying to make. It makes the word not have meaning, because now we say, oh, okay, this white girl that hasn't really had many white friends, she asks you a couple questions about your hair because she doesn't know.
'Cause she
And now
doesn't
she's
actually
racist.
know. Yeah.
She doesn't know, she's ignorant.
Yeah.
Okay, just say, oh, this I'm a black person, or I wouldn't really like this, don't really touch my hair. Okay, let me educate you.
Yeah.
No, you're racist. And now you've demonized that person, and that person is going to go into their echo chamber and say, black people just use the word. And now when you call that person racist again, or when they see something that is actually racist, they're going to think they use that word anyways.
Yeah.
You've now lost an ally.
So it's now devalued the essence of what racism actually is.
Yeah.
Do you think racism is an issue why white on white crime isn't documented the way we feel like it should be?
I don't understand, what do you mean?
Do you think that there's this kind of like racial, maybe not intention racist, but like a bias mindset, because a lot of the owners of the media companies are white, that they kind of don't want to label
paint
things the same way.
That's
Like,
it.
for example, like I
Exactly
said, that's black on black crime. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Hooliganism is white on white crime, and we're talking about the majority, not the minorities. Hooliganism is white on white crime, but we won't call it that. We call it hooliganism. If they were to label that the same, for me, that's fair. That's equal.
Yeah.
Can I
I
bring
feel
up
like-
something
I feel
else?
like-
That's what's
sorry.
been observed. I'm just going to close. That's what's been observed. So my question is, in short, do you think these newspapers have that air of racism?
Let me just
They
say
don't want to label these things the same because it makes it look like, oh, hang on a minute, in our community, we actually got the same kind of problem.
Yeah.
Although we're one community.
I want to let you speak. I just want to answer that quickly. That's what I was saying with the culture thing. It's a culture thing. Your culture, you're going to accept you have dissidents. You're not going to accept another culture dissidents.
Yeah.
You're going to say,
I feel
you're going to have to
Do you know what I
accept
feel?
people that, sorry, you're going to have to accept criminals in your community. You're not going to want to do the others. But yeah.
Do you know what I feel?
We're all
I feel
part of the
like-
same community now.
I feel
but
this
they
way
don't-
because...
Yeah, but we're-
sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
I feel this way because when we looked at Philip Schofield, right, we were speaking about it in the group.
Yeah.
Philip Schofield
Yeah.
came out as gay, right? On this morning, Friday, I think.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Now, to the media, he's brave, he's courageous, he's able,
strong.
and all this other stuff. To me, he's a cheating cunt. To me, he's a prick. Do you know why? Because
27 years, you know.
you've led your wife on for 27 years, you
I think it was a recent thing.
And he actually said it in the papers. He said in his interview today,
I don't think it was the whole time. It wasn't gay the whole time.
In the papers, he said he thinks that he was gay. He doesn't know if he was gay when he was married. So you've already had that possibility then. And the reason I say that to say this, right? When it's a white person saying these things, that is what the thing is. Oh, he's brave, he's amazing, and all this other stuff. Let that have been someone who is prominent in the media, a black male who's prominent in the media, and then it was found out that maybe he was cheating with a guy. Right. Throwing the kitchen sink at him, demonized him.
No, but he cheated with a woman though.
But he cheated with a woman. He cheated with a woman.
He still cheated,
right? And he said it. Bear in mind, Kevin Hart said it. No one, like there was rumors. But
someone's gonna expose him. Someone's gonna expose him.
That's what I'm saying.
Tiger Woods was clapping out bare things.
Hold on. There was rumors, but he actually came out himself and said it. He weren't brave then. He weren't courageous then. He was a cheat, and it's as simple as that. But Philip Schofield,
but
who's
did
clearly,
he cheat on his wife though? Was he digging out Batty behind his wife back? We don't know.
Who? Kevin Hart?
Philip Schofield.
Probably, yeah. He had that apparently that.
I can't say I'm gay if I've not had it.
That's someone that was working on something like he did it.
So basically, what? No, I don't know, mate. I can't even talk. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. For you to say that, you've clearly had some form of encounter to realise, you know what, I'm gay, right? At your age,
right, so
that's what I think.
Yeah, but this goes to For me, you're slightly contradicting yourself, Jim, and I'll try to explain why. You can't be a murderer until you kill someone. So if you've got the thoughts of doing something and you don't do it, then you're not. He did cheat.
No.
You just said.
All right, go on. Go ahead.
You just said 27 years ago he thought he was gay. If whatever thoughts you have, they're just thoughts until you start acting upon those thoughts.
But he did cheat though.
We don't know when.
No, he did. There's even a guy, basically, apparently it was some 22-year-old guy, and apparently he might have been doing it since before the guy was 18.
Yeah, that was
he got the guy a job.
Yeah.
And then apparently
that was only 6 years ago.
All right,
no, it was recent. It was only like a couple months ago. He moved to the set of Loose Women. So it was only very recently that he stopped working with Philip. Yeah. And they have interviews together, blah, blah, blah.
I read that, but I don't know how true it is.
All right,
so I can't say until he comes out and says, I've done that, I don't know.
Yeah, but then a whole lot of
rumours aren't really my thing. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't care if it's in the newspaper. I don't know if it's true.
But the depiction of indiscretions for black and white communities is very, very different, and it's not balanced. So in terms of, for example, how knife crime is perceived, how it is perceived in Scotland, in terms of when Glasgow had their knife epidemic in the early 2000s, and how it's perceived here is completely different. It was the highest in the British Isles. At one point in time, they had 137 deaths in a year, which is on comparison to, I think, where we were last year, England-wise. 136 murders in the UK last year. So, sorry, excuse me. How it was perceived up there is it was a public health crisis. We need to help. We need to figure out systemically how we can support these people. In London, and with black violence now, it becomes you and your communities. You need to do more for your children. You need to do this. You need to take responsibility. Like, one thing I can say, where I work, we're very, very inclusive. We're very diverse, and we're always looking at the system of supporting people regardless of race, regardless. Like, it's a really diverse service. But on a general sense, there is so much emphasis placed on the ethnicity in that community, and it becomes their issue and their responsibility to deal with it. There isn't that systemic wraparound support that Glasgow and Scotland received when they were having a very similar knife epidemic. I think it is really imbalanced. It's going to be imbalanced until the end of time, because the country that we live in, look at the government we voted for. We voted for austerity over diversity. You'd rather a government that doesn't promise you anything. I mean, I'm pretty sure the NHS is still waiting for their £350 million to drop this week. But because one government...
I wouldn't say that. That's just a blanket statement, say diversity and austerity, because austerity measures are put on us because we are part of the EU, and the EU had to help bail out Greece. So we had to do our own part to help bail out Greece. If Labour Party would say, we would have had to still do the same things.
Yeah.
And I think with Labour, we vote for Labour because of emotions. Reactionary politics is what I feel like a lot of black people have. They don't have their own opinions. Their own opinions is based on how the other side think. Okay, you think you are racist, you see things like this, so I'm going to see things this way. Not that you actually believe that, because you're on the back pedal.
On a local level.
What do you mean?
No, well, what you were saying, you said that.
I'm that guy, because when I was talking about Brexit, I didn't care about any policies. All I thought was, if you're for Brexit, you're a racist.
See, I like Brexit, I'm for Brexit, but I'm not.
So that's what I'm saying.
If I call you racist,
I'm that guy.
On a local level, how do these government decisions impact us? Do you know?
What do you mean by that?
On a local level, so on a council by council basis, how do national government policies and procedures impact on a local level?
Obviously negatively, innit?
Exactly, and where does that come from? That comes
Our
from the
government
system.
and then EU.
It comes from
It
the
comes
system
from the
in which
EU, but
we
they don't
support.
tell us that because we sit down and say that if you're for Brexit, you're racist. I agree with this point. Not everyone that voted Brexit is racist, but every racist voted Brexit. So I believe every
agree
racist
with that.
person voted Brexit. But
I
not everyone that
100%
voted
agree
Brexit
with
was racist.
Because they
Like,
didn't have the understanding of what it was going to do.
I
Yeah.
don't see. That's why I disagree with you. I feel like people think that
How many people read the Conservative manifesto when they were given the opportunity to vote for Brexit?
you can say the same for
Yo,
How
yo,
many people-
Can we talk about politics another day?
yeah, go on, yeah, that's it.
Politics
I'm just
episode coming
saying to
soon.
you,
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on.
we live in a country that voted for austerity over diversity.
See,
That's why it is what
that's
it
why I
is.
disagree with because
I
that's
work in
blanket.
local
Hold on, hold on,
government.
hold on,
Yeah,
hold on, hold on.
that's
We're not-
blanket.
we're not-
Wait, wait, wait,
let's talk
wait,
about
wait,
Brexit.
wait, wait, wait. Politics episode coming soon. For now, we're all done here.
Yeah.
All right. White on white crime is definitely
last thoughts?
something. Yeah, that's what I just coming to now. White on white crime is something that's definitely. It's definite, in my opinion. It's something that exists. It's something that's never going to be spoken about because the powers that be will not allow it to be. That's my personal thought. Real quick from you guys.
I think it's all about the labels, the narrative, what the role models that we have in society that doesn't allow us to kind of overcome these problems. But also, if you take a look at the institutions that it may be, whatever it may be, they don't set up an institution enough for the black community to sort of break out of the stereotype, break out of the narrative. So that
Oh, they
becomes
don't
a
want to,
problem.
but that's a story for
And
another day.
also, the issue of white collar crime. We didn't even talk about white collar crime. Why is it that when white people commit crime, it's always about manipulation, power, and money? Yet when it's black or ethnic minorities, it's always about violence. It's always about aggression or sensitivity. So, but that's something for another time.
Definitely. Clint, Lake.
For me, I think it just comes down to culture. You're not going to accept dissidents from other cultures. You're going to accept your own because that's part of the tribe. So I feel like when you start to understand that they're never really going to accept our crime as part of their community because the way they see it, we are not part of their community. That's when we're going to be able to move on and create solutions from there.
Clint.
Mate, call a spade a spade. If they're doing it, say who they are, say what they're doing, regardless of where they're from. Just call a spade, say it how it is.
Guys, like, comment, share, subscribe. We've been Common Sense. You've been you. Take it easy.